Hi, welcome to the Mohua show. My name is Mohua Chinappa and I am an author, entrepreneur and ex-housewife. This podcast is about everything from business to technology to arts to lifestyle, but done and spoken ईमानदारी se. Hi, in today's episode, we have with us Yogita Bhayana. Yogita is a leading member of various expert panels and bodies, including interviewing Anganwadi workers across India. She works closely with NCR, Expert Committee on Gender and Education, and the National Commission for Women. She works closely with rape victims. She has initiated and spearheaded the protest and campaign to change the juvenile justice law age limit for rapists from 18 to 16 following the Nirbhaya rape and murder. So this isn't an easy space for Yogita, who was a manager at Kingfisher Airlines. You have to tell me, Yogita, what was the turning point in your life that made you get into social work?
I think I always wanted to do social work, but airline happened, by default, because maybe, when it was a serious calling that I always wanted to do something even as a child, I used to raise funds for old age homes in the school and I used to always get rewarded and awarded. So that motivation was always there, but one incident just happens and then it gets you to that strongest point that, okay, yes, this is the time I have to, take up my calling. That happened in 2007. I had quit my job because I had seen one accident and I went to a government hospital for the first time. And when I saw that person dying and not getting attended, so that was the time I decided, this is a time, if I don't quit right now, my cushiony career, then I'll never be able to give up. So I decided, I was 27-year-old, I decided to quit and started working on various issues, especially, the road accidents. So at the age of 27, I had witnessed one accident before and I was, going to the court hearing, going to the hospital with that particular case, it really shook me. And then I decided that I have to quit my job, the cushiony career, otherwise I'll never be able to give up, to take up things, in a stronger way, because I used to really feel guilty about a lot of things when I was enjoying my job time, whatever you can say that, or a salary. Like I used to feel bad, and that I was not following my calling. So that was the time I decided to quit. In 2007, I found one organization which used to help such victims, accident victims and health infrastructure. That's how I got into this. But in 2012, another turning point which changed the whole life of mine was when Nirbhaya happened. So in 2012, when Nirbhaya happened, I was already volunteering with the body called National Commission for Women as I wanted to understand the lot of issues, atrocities against women. So I was volunteering there. So this case happened when I was working in that office. So the lady, the chairperson, then had gone and met this girl. By then, I had no idea about the seriousness of the issue. When she came and she was crying, I was supposed to go with her. She says, this girl has gone through beyond words brutality. So that time it just shook me that I can't be sitting and doing nothing about it. So that time, little momentum had started building up around India Gate and all. So I also became part of it and started texting people to come forward and protest and all. So that protest, that activism mode started in 2012. So in 2012, when I heard about this Nirbhaya case, through TV channel only, but that time I was volunteering for this body, National Commission for Women, as to understand the atrocities against women and children. So I was very actively volunteering there. So the chairperson then had gone and seen this girl in the hospital. The way her body language was, the way she was crying after seeing this girl, it spoke all, and I could not take that energy. I thought it is really, really brutal and we need to do something. That was the time my social work turned into activism, but that activism mode, shaming the government, kind of protesting against the current regimes, that all started that whole thing that the rapes have to stop. That moment was then in 2012. So as everybody was gathering at India Gate, I also started gathering a lot of crowd. We started protest. It went to Parliament Street, like where we all headed towards Parliament of India. We continued that protest even when we heard the news of Nirbhaya dying. So that was a day I decided that this cause needs lot of attention, and we really need to do something about it, and we need to save our daughters. So that was a moment, and we continued that, outrage. But then that was not enough. I thought, we had a group. We decided that we must do something to, kind of stop this kind of a violence. We need to do something on the issue. We can't be just protesting. So that another movement started. The Pari started then, People Against Rapes in India. So we started reaching out to victims. We started helping them with their cases. Also, we thought we should work on the mindset, and the awareness thing started then. We started discussing, deliberating, going to the government, only maybe reaching out to a victim or doing awareness workshops, related to all this. So this is how 2012 was a major turning point in my life.
तो योगिता, देयर इज अ वीडियो इंटरनेट पे है जहाँ पे बिहार के पुलिस हैज मिसबिहेव्ड विथ यू. तो हमारे सुनने वालों को आप बताएं उस दिन क्या हुआ, क्या था.
So what happened was, there was a girl in Banka district of Bihar जो होली वाले दिन खेलने के लिए गई थी. तो girl was with her mother, and वो होली का दिन था, और she was playing outside, and she was abducted by these monsters. They raped her, they killed her, they took her eyes out, so that body can't be identified. इतना brutal था. I got to know about this case. We reached out to the family through the phone calls, and we told them that we want to help you. And the father was crying, and he said, we just want, justice. Like, these goons were not arrested then. So I told him, okay, I'll help you. So what do you want? Because we usually ask victim like what exactly they want. He says, I want to have a strict action, and these guys were not arrested. So I told him, okay, I'll come there. So he says, no, we must go to the police headquarters, because here police is not cooperating. So I reached Patna, and these people traveled from their village, and we had taken appointment from CM office. So moment we reached there, because he had a little poster in his hand about his daughter and what had happened. So they thought we are here to protest. Even if we were there to protest, they had no right to misbehave. They not only misbehaved with me, they misbehaved with this poor chap who had lost his daughter to such a brutal crime only few days ago. So that was a trigger point for me that, you cannot do this to a victim. A lot of journalists were there by default because they were outside CM house. So they made it on air, and it went viral. And this guy is not suspended, this police officer, but it shows the mindset of, the police in our country. We were detained. We were kept in the police station throughout the day. It was okay with me because I'm used to all this. But what about the father of such a girl? Like, you cannot do that to a victim's family. So they had kept him also with me, detained him with me. That was really very hurtful. And a lady ACP, she said, इनको तो मैं बताऊंगी, इन्होंने ये CM ऑफिस के बाहर किया, तो इनको तो मैं सबक सिखाऊंगी. तो lady cop did that to us. So, so these are the bitter realities of our country. What we cannot, we are trying to change things, but when we hear such incidences, like it becomes a longer journey.
So Yogita, it'll be very nice for me to get into your mind, and because you've done so much of work, in this space. What is really the mindset behind this whole rape culture? तो मेरे ख्याल से ये तो punishment होता है कि नहीं, इसको सबक सिखाएंगे. तो आप मुझे बताएं, because you must have spoken to rape survivors, you must have spoken to people who've also, gone behind bars and done these sort of heinous crimes. What exactly is the mindset?
See, mindset definitely is patriarchal. Like, how we perceive our women, how we perceive our, daughters. We only see them as a body, that's the whole problem. That's the whole culture we are surrounded in. So maybe that's the thing, because we can say that, okay, मैं सबक सिखाऊंगा, but what sabak one can teach to a 8-year-old or a 6 months old? I have handled 6 months old also. With the culprit, we will not get to know, in the sense, the true kind of bifurcation. So we are working on that also. I'm trying to convince the authorities to give us access to the criminals also. But at the same time, there is no excuse for all this. It's upbringing, mindset, the gender sensitization, all these things are, clubbed together. I think we need to work a lot on this. And gender inclusion should be the basis of everything, because we see girls are from Mars, or boys are from another planet. So that's the whole, the bifurcation, the differentiation creates more problem.
Please tell us about your campaign, Nari Ke Do Din.
Nari ke do din, like as I said, we keep talking to administration, keep talking to the politicians, we keep telling them, discuss kariye. If you don't discuss, you will not come out with the solution. As simple as that. So we want them to kind of चर्चा करिए. कुछ तो पार्लियामेंट में जब निर्भया हुआ, there were discussions only for a few hours, and people had, these politicians had shown their, sympathies or whatever it is. I think women issues should be discussed. Like I've been asking parliamentarians to discuss it minimum 2 days in a year, so that, when they discuss, they will come out with solutions. So this is the same thing I'm asking the state governments, like, Vidhan Sabhas, to discuss 2 days. So we have given suggestions to we have been writing to all the CMs and, our Speaker of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha also. They have promised us for last 3 years, but not yet done. So hoping that they will really understand the seriousness of the issue, that, women are to be discussed, so that, the as I am repeating it again, that when we know the problem, we can come out with the solution.
तो अभी तो recently हाल ही में ये अंकिता भंडारी का जो केस है, तो this is another revelation about how a woman is not allowed to say no. And I'd really like to hear from you, Yogita. What is it that, your take? Because I'd seen a lot of your videos on social media on this.
See, Ankita Bhandari case is very, very unfortunate, but at the same time, it is one case which has surfaced and we know about it. But there's so many girls are suffering. They can't even speak up. They are going through the sexual harassment every single day. That is more of a everyday torture to a working woman, especially in this kind of a line where hotels and hospitality, and they are very vulnerable, and coming from small town, they are not prepared to work in these kind of places, and they are very gullible to these exploitation. Exactly what happened to Ankita. I had gone there personally to check on other resorts also where the other girls were working. They had no idea about POSH committee, this sexual harassment committee, where they can go for redressals, where they could reach out to authorities. Even if they would have reached out, nothing would have happened. I know that there is no infrastructure as of now, but at least women should know their rights, especially when they are at this edge of their age where, they're very vulnerable. They need to kind of know where they can reach out for help. So unfortunately, our women don't even know the helpline numbers. When I do surveys, I go stand in a nukkad, I ask girls, do you know helpline number? They don't know. Do you know if somebody is exploiting or trying to kind of harass you, where you have to call, or what you need to do? They don't know. We are only focusing on, okay, martial arts and self-defense. That's okay. That's a physical fitness, but nobody is training them to kind of, speak up. So that's where Pari is very actively trying to interact with women, also with men. We need to talk to boys also. It's very important.
You're doing a very, very courageous job, of course, and sometimes to rescue victims, you have to go against the government officials. तो ऐसा कोई डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशन रहा जिसमें से आप निकल के आई हैं, जो सुनने वालों के लिए, whoever wants to take up social work, they are always frightened, especially in this space, because sometimes the aftermath can be really crazy for a lot of people.
So I know it's not easy, because when you help a rape victim, then you are also going against the government, number one, because when you speak up, it's not that helping requires you to bully the government or, but because I chose to be an activist, so I have to, whichever government, I have to bring out their faults. When we choose this particular path of serving people, there are some dangers involved, but they are not that dangers that you can't handle. Life any which ways is like not very safe, like in the sense when we have seen the COVID and everything. So we can always say that, helping someone will not endanger you. The challenges are there, but I think if you know how to handle, I think that will be the greatest thing. I will encourage people to come forward, help the victims, not getting carried away with the thought that you will be you don't have to speak up against the government. Not everybody has to do that. You can simply help a victim by giving them some legal advice, or helping them with the lawyer, or helping them with their medical this thing. If you don't want to cross that line,
बहुत सारी यंग लड़कियों को और औरतों को बोला जाता है कि आप बाहर निकलने से पहले मतलब वेस्टर्न कपड़े मत पहनो क्योंकि फियर ऑफ रेप, और इसमें बोला जाता है कि बी केयर फॉर यू, इसीलिए आपकी भलाई के लिए बोल रहे हैं आप दुपट्टा डालो, आप साड़ी डालो जिसमें आपकी बॉडी नहीं दिखता है. और वन कांट ऑल्सो आई मीन go into those sort of homes where girls are not allowed, and girls themselves, like you just mentioned in Bihar, they, a police officer wanted to teach you all a lesson. So how would one bridge that?
See, this is where awareness will only help. Only talking about it, having discourses all over, I think this is exactly what we are doing, will only help. Because, see, 99%, 90% of the cases happen within the four walls of the house. So what about clothing outside? When girls are not even safe within their homes, and 6 months old. I mean, I have handled a case, 6 months old baby. What was she wearing? What is to do with her dress? So it's all mindset, and sari is more revealing when we talk about it. I don't want to get into that debate, but then, so it is about how we perceive things. We need to change that completely, and to change that, we need to kind of have an open discussion, do a lot of campaigns, all these things. So people sometimes they don't know, subconsciously we are so conditioned what we need to kind of remove from our software of the mind. So I think this is where we are talking to adolescents, young girls, young boys, schools, colleges, so that when they go home they also talk to their families, so the change will come. It might take time, but it will happen.
So Yogita, have you ever been threatened by anybody while you've been doing this work? Would you like to share an incident with our listeners?
Yes, I have been threatened to kind of not support a victim from the other side. Not once, many times. In almost every case, when you try to be with the kind of the one side, which is the victim side, you are kind of, taken into that note. Ask for security or anything, because I think I can handle it till now. But there are some high profile cases where, like, Ram Rahim case. So when I raised my voice against this person, so I was chased by his followers, and they tried to intimidate. They were threatening online, offline. So, these things happen. And not only this case, if you expose a person like of that level, and who's mostly involved, all these people under the garb of, some religion or something, when they are trying to kind of exploit girls, they are very easily, they get access to such things, in the sense that women are vulnerable, and they create that kind of scenario. When you expose such a person, the followers, those who believe in those people, or in the cult, they try to kind of really make your life very difficult, but bit scary at that time.
I can absolutely imagine. And for our listeners, let me just tell them a little bit about Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh Insan. He is also known as MSG. He's the head of the Indian social group Dera Sacha Sauda, DSS, since 1990. Prior to a 2017 rape conviction, he was a religious leader, actor, singer, writer, songwriter, director, and composer. And he's also been convicted of being involved in the murder of journalist Ramchandra Chhatrapati, according to the Indian Express. So a prisons department official said that Bharatiya Janata Party-led Haryana government has started looking for a suitable job for Ram Rahim 2 years ago, before the 2017 rape conviction. So these are very, very frightening and high-profile cases, and we have somebody like Yogita who is going all out to help rape victims and survivors who would like to come out and talk about their experience, which isn't easy at all, because there's also a huge amount of shame attached, not for the rapist, but for the person who's been raped. And according to a report, a total of 31,677 rape cases were registered in India during 2021, or around 87 rape cases every day on an average. This is the latest compilation by the National Crime Records Bureau of August 2022. So we can imagine the number of rape cases that happen, and all of them do not get registered in police complaints. And we have Yogita Bhayana, who is courageously working in a space for rape survivors to not feel ashamed to register a complaint with the police stations. So thank you, Yogita, for being on today's podcast. Would you like to leave a few lines for women who are our listeners today?
Thank you for inviting me and having this discussion, which is really needed. And I would speak through your podcast that I'll tell all the women to speak up and help others also, not only helping yourself by speaking up, you need to become others' voices also. So we need to hold each other hands so we can reach out to that mission of making our country, our world safer for women and children.
Thank you so much, Yogita. To you, our dearest listeners, you can find us on your favorite streaming services, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and of course on all other major streaming services. With loads of love, we are The Mohua Show, where we talk ईमानदारी से.